Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Oyama Mdleleni. I am a purpose coach. On this channel, I talk about God's promises, God's principles, and God's purpose for our lives, especially also on rebuilding ourselves as women over the age of 40, when we have gone through the ups and the downs and the struggles of life, and now we have to pick ourselves up and start all over again. So if it is your first time watching any of my videos, I hope you enjoy. I hope you can also engage. And if you're a continued or a returning subscriber, thank you for the continued support. Today, I'm going to talk about a different type of a grief that I believe we don't talk much about. So I've made some notes. When you see me looking down, please know that looking at my notes, I don't want to leave anything out. I've made some points. So this type of grief is the grief of losing a marriage, which we know also comes with a lot of things, financial implications, the shift now in terms of the dynamic of the family, and also just losing the dream that you had, the plans that you had with your spouse as a family, the vision. And now, okay, before I get too excited in terms of just sharing these points, I know divorce is a difficult thing, and divorce is a difficult process. Was not just a one-day experience, but even after the divorce has been finalized, there are also triggers that will also keep on showing up, which will sometimes even take us back to the beginning of the whole process. So grieving the marriage and the life you never had, this is now, divorce is a death of a dream, a death of a marriage, a death of a family that you thought you will have, where you lose a part of you because you were joined with this person. As a woman, you are joined with your husband. The Bible tells us that you cleave to your husband, you joined, and now you become one flesh. Therefore, you are losing a part of yourself when you are now divorcing this person who has been in your life for so long, this person that you have co-created with, this person that you have also created and made plans and made long-term plans with, and you are sharing a past. There were struggles, and also there were moments of joy between the two of you. So then this is, it's not an easy process, and the grieving part is now you going through those emotions of sadness, of bitterness, those emotions of fear, of just feeling like your world has been turned upside down. So now, even if this divorce was your idea, or you are the one who came up with the D word, it does not make it easy. Even if it's him, it does not make it easy. So even if you both agreed and you've talked about it and you've spoken that maybe just for peace sake, let's just make it this divorce, let's agree on terms, even if it's not a difficult process getting through it, but just the loss of those memories with this person. So also, divorce is also a death of the life you envisioned living with this person. So dreams are being shattered because you are getting divorced. Now, the long-term dreams that you had with this person now are being shattered as your lives now are being turned upside down. So blaming yourself and asking yourself if there had been anything else you could have done to salvage it, and if perhaps you were too quick to throw in the towel, those thoughts will run through your mind. So it is normal for you to question the decision, to ask yourself if you had really done all that you had exhausted all the options that were available before you, And if this was just a quick thing that you did, you gave up too soon, you will go through that. And there are also people who might even suggest that, but you will go through that, even blaming yourself and asking yourself those questions. Also asking yourself, if you throw away the only chance that you could ever the only chance that you ever had of being with a man, or ever being married, was, what if you don't get married again? If the desire is still in your heart to be married, but it never comes, are you able to live with yourself because now of this decision that you are making, that you have made, of divorcing your current spouse? And when you are going through those emotions and asking yourself those questions now about the future, I believe you should not be too hung up in terms of now coming up with all these ifs and maybes of the future, instead of just being present in the now, and also just embracing the memories that you have created with this person. If there were also hardships in terms of betrayal, unfaithfulness, which have left you maybe insecure and feeling some kind of a way about yourself, not trusting another person, not trusting yourself to be in another relationship. Those are things, those are emotions that we need to express. Those are emotions that we should not be suppressing, but instead let them pass through us, so that we are not they are not coming out in terms of now in a bitter or anger kind of a way, or even health issues, because we have been bottling up these emotions. Regret also might also creep in, especially when you know that he's a good man who loves his children, but just did not love you right. And you may even question if the love you feel you deserve even exists. So these are questions you also want to ask yourself, because he's a good person, he's a loving man, he's a man who works hard for his family, but he did not love you the right way. Now you may regret when you see now your children maybe even being caught up, because of course we know that divorce affects everyone who is involved in that equation, or in terms of that family. Children also might bear the brunt of this decision that you have made, and it does not mean that they will never get over it. It does not mean that they will never heal from it, but because it's still new, and that's why it's important to for us to involve them in terms of making also some decisions for themselves, asking them, so that they also feel like they are part of the decision, but also watching out for the manipulation from the children. So if also even us asking for the love and wanting to be loved in our kind of a way, and we are not receiving that from our spouse, but they are showing that they are really a good person, but they are just not loving us the way we want. I do believe that we deserve to be loved the way we want to be loved. Even if your husband was not a person who was mean, who was brutal, who was abusive in a physical or sexual or psychological kind of a manner, but sometimes there can be those like maybe financially he's not a person who is upfront and transparent, and also in terms of listening and being attentive to your needs. Maybe also there was also that gap, but once we communicate those, we need to see the change. The person really has to change for us to be able to trust and know that this thing can work. But if a person is not willing to change, but instead they are dismissive of your feelings, or in terms, or maybe they're even accusing you of condemnation or judgment, when you are just bringing forth in terms of how you are feeling about the love that you are receiving from them. Feeling guilty also when your children are moving house to house. These are emotions that are going to come up when you see your children now being, one weekend they're this side and the other weekend they're this side, holidays, they are that side, and these are things that are going to also keep on taking you back to your decision, to where you are currently. When also he starts to date other women, and their relationship progresses perhaps even quicker than you thought, and this makes you resentful because it feels like somehow someone is replacing you. It feels like they were in the picture already, and that he knew how to love but just did not want to love you, and that now it makes you maybe feel unlovable. So when he continues and moves on with his life, and that relationship seems to be progressing quite quickly, and now yeah, you may even be resentful because this person now, it feels like this person is taking your life, what you had built, and then this man is showing some kind of a different love to them that they could not show to you. So what is important with grief is that we feel every emotion that comes to the fore, and we do not suppress it, but the emotion has to pass through and does not stay for too long. We should not be staying for too long in that place of grief, in that place of being emotional, but allow it to pass through. Allow the sadness, allow the bitterness, allow the resentment, allow it to pass through, but we should not linger and hold on to it, because now it will also show in other kind of ways which are not pretty, or especially for us Christians, which are not godly ways. Thoughts of feeling like a failure and making now the individual a failure instead of a failed marriage are thoughts that we should never entertain, because they will make one feel hopeless, like there is nothing you can do right. When those thoughts creep up, we need to reject and bind them immediately and replace them with the truth of Jesus dying on the cross for our sins. So we should not, the thoughts that say now, that are personalizing the decision, that says you are a failure because your marriage failed, we should not be entertaining those. Yes, the marriage failed, but I did not fail. I am not a failure. So once those thoughts are creeping in, are coming through, we should be rejecting them immediately. We should not be entertaining them, because now that is how then the enemy has a hold over us. Once we hold on to those thoughts, that's where now depression also comes in. That's where now the long-term effects comes in, where we are stuck in that place of grief. We are unable to get up and move on. We are now in a place of helplessness and hopelessness, which we do not want to find ourselves in. Triggers are expected, such as meeting mutual friends you had with your spouse, places you like going to, spending holidays by yourself because the children are now visiting your spouse's family, losing friendships, people speaking ill about you behind your back. And this is not your job also to set everyone straight, but let them think what they want to think. Also losing your home, feeling forced to sell some things, and also losing some benefits for peace sake, because you do not want to prolong the process. So these may also be things that may come up when now, if you had mutual friends, the friendships now are broken up. There are friends now who are more leaning to his side than your side, because there are two sides to the story. And now you find yourself also grieving now these relationships, these friendships. You find yourself grieving your home that now you're no longer living in. You find yourself grieving now these other things that are by default will come up when there's a divorce. There are also these other things that we also lose, that we grieve, that we often do not speak about now, because the friends may have been his friends that came into the picture, but now you had bonded with these people because you had known them maybe for years, and now the thought of them just no longer being part of your life. And maybe even now your spouse even dating maybe someone who was a friend, being married maybe to someone who was a friend now, and you were being forced to sell your things, because financial strain that comes with a divorce can force us to part ways with things that we had worked hard for, maybe selling, you have to sell your car now, you have to move the children to another school, you have to now move to a smaller place, smaller apartment. So these are things now that really turn the things upside down. And sometimes you just for peace sake, you because you don't want to fight over things and prolong the process, you just leave some things like his retirement. You don't touch his retirement, you don't sell some of the things, and then you divide the money, but you just leave them because you want peace, or peace of your mind. And also you just maybe to avoid, even sometimes you find that families, they come and accuse that you've taken their brother's things. I've heard of couples who were kicked out of their home. I've heard of women who were kicked out of their home with their children because the husband's family was claiming that the woman, the house was their brother's. And now you find such things which really leaves a bad taste in our mouth when such things happen to women, because we did not prepare ourselves for this day, because we're living and thinking that this is my husband, things are going to be forever good or happy moments always, and we miss the reality of life sometimes, that some things do not always work out the way we plan, and therefore we did not have the cushion that will help us in these difficult times. One of the things also that shock many divorcees is the judgment from church people. People will be people, because we are in the flesh, we are carnal, but we should never let the mistreatment by people who are saying they are representing Christ be the reflection of who Christ is. And this becomes very important, that we read the word and the will of God for ourselves, so that we know that his standpoint and principles are where they are when we find ourselves in such a situation. It's difficult when now the church people, the people that you think would be the one to stand and support you, are the ones who turn against you, are the ones who gossip about you behind your back, are the ones who give you the look, and you hear whispers behind your back and eyes looking at you. It's difficult now for you to even go back to that environment. So that's why now we find that many people end up not going back to church, because church people sometimes they miss the mark. They miss the mark, and we should not see them as, now when they are doing that thing, mistreating us, should not see them as now Christ being the one who's turning his back on us, but instead know that these are people, they are carnal, they will sin, they have flaws, but know that Christ will never turn his back on us. He will never leave us nor forsake us. He is there in that deep dark pit we are in. He is feeling all that pain we are feeling. He's weeping with us, but know that he is there, and not let now these the treatment and the response from church members dictate our relationship with Christ. Also, if it gets too much, going for counseling, if it gets too much, we need to also consider going for counseling or therapy, because this is never a sign of weakness. It just shows that we sometimes need help to grieve, we need help to come to terms with the changes in our lives, with the struggles that we are going through, and therefore sometimes we just need to raise our hand and say, I need help here. And going to therapy or counseling is never a sign of weakness. Once we allow these emotions, we feel them and we let them pass through, then we can find ourselves sometimes just smiling here and there, or laughing again, and days are no longer such a dread, and we looked at our failed marriage as life experience in our arsenal, with the lessons that we have learned, that we will now need and we will use in the future, because God wastes nothing. And slowly but surely we can allow and give ourselves permission to be happy again. So once these emotions, we go through them, we experience them, we let them pass through, we do not hold them in. Slowly but surely we will get to a point where we start to laugh again, where we find joy and peace again, where now we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to be happy again, because God's intention for us is for us to have a rich and fulfilling lives. And a failed marriage does not mean a failed life. It just means that it was an experience, it was something that we had to go through for us to learn a lesson from it. And also it is a weapon now. It is an experience on our arsenal that we can use in the future, in future relationships. Also to counsel and also guide others who are coming into or who are currently experiencing the difficulties that you also saw in your own marriage. That's why God is saying, the Great Commission is that we go and make disciples of all nations, because we have these experiences as women over the age of 40 that we want to impart to the younger women or the generations that are behind us, and so that they make wiser decisions than we did, and so that they have more success than we did. And also that means by helping one person, we have done a great deed. We have done that great commission that Christ is telling us in the book of Matthew chapter 28, that we go and make disciples of all nations. So this is what I intended to share today. This is what God had placed in my heart. I hope you can also share your own comments and share your own experiences. Always remember that God has a plan for your life. As long as you have a breath on your body, as long as you have breath on your lungs, God is not done with you. He still wants to use you. He still has more for you. Until next time then, goodbye. Take care.